Tonight, 2 weeks until Election Day, the race for the White House enters the final stretch as millions of Americans already began casting their ballots. Plus, Israel ramps up operations in Lebanon and Gaza, while the U.S. tries to secure a ceasefire hostage deal. And from North Carolina to southern Brazil, Operation Blessing is bringing hope to communities ravaged by flooding.
The scope and the depth of this destruction is staggering.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Two weeks to go, and the presidential election remains neck and neck. In Washington, I'm John Jessup.
And good evening, I'm Jenna Browder. The race to the White House is in its final stretch.
Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are battling for votes in key swing states as millions head to the polls and cast their ballots.
As CBN Washington correspondent Michelle London joins us now with more, even as early voting is fully underway. Michelle?
Well, Jenna, good evening. As in-person voting kicked off across Wisconsin, tonight, both presidential campaigns are busy rallying across a crucial swing state where Trump and Harris expect another razor-thin margin. Tuesday, dozens of voters stood in line outside Milwaukee's municipal building while waiting for their turn at the polls, while former President Barack Obama and Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz hosted a rally in the capital city of Madison.
Thank you very much.
As Trump rallies in Greensboro, North Carolina, and running mate Vance campaigns outside of Phoenix, Republicans across the dairy state are holding events encouraging voters to cast their ballots for the former president before Election Day. Brian Schimming, Wisconsin Republican Party chairman, says the vote early message from Trump and Republicans this election cycle has been very clear. Schimming is even encouraging absentee ballot drop boxes, a method once opposed by Trump and other GOP members. Back in 2020, Trump lost Wisconsin by just under 21,000 votes, an election that saw unprecedented early and absentee voting during COVID-19. After spending the last 11 days on the campaign trail, Harris is here in Washington for 2 sit-down interviews. While at a town hall the night before in Wisconsin, Harris joined former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
When we think about what is at stake in terms of our democracy, rule of law, the Constitution of the United States, national security, the standing of our country in the context of the world, all of that is at stake.
We're actually leading with Hispanics. That's never happened before.
During a roundtable with Latino men in Miami Tuesday, Trump had a strong message to evangelical supporters.
Christians will not be safe with Kamala Harris as President of the United States. It's not even thinkable.
As Election Day approaches, both Trump and Harris are looking to court Latino voters by highlighting their economic policies, but with two vastly different approaches. And during that roundtable in Miami today, Trump made the case that employment, wages, and home ownership actually increased for Latinos during his time in office, while Harris interviewed with Telemundo today, stating her plans to remove college degree requirements for certain federal government jobs. Jenna?
All right, Michelle, thank you. And joining us now, Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections. Nathan, welcome. So Real Clear Politics, which takes an average of polls, shows Harris leading nationally by 0.8%. Trump, though, is winning in all of the 7 battleground states. To start, I'd like to just get your take on where things stand tonight, 2 weeks out.
Yeah, it's close, Jenna, right? It's close. Once again, I try to divert my eyes from national polls because we don't have national elections in this country. I think the Real Clear Politics average tends to be a little bit rosy for Republicans and rosy for Trump, but all 7 swing states Trump and Harris are either neck and neck or within a point or 2. Each of those 7 swing states could go to either candidate, and that's just one or 7 pieces of evidence that this race is close and it's going to come down to the wire.
Nathan, Democrats traditionally perform well in early voting, but Republicans, per some accounts at least, seemingly are taking the advantage, with one analyst, Mark Halperin, suggesting if these numbers hold, we'll know the winner before Election Day, and he presumes that will be Trump. But then there's also reporting that the Harris campaign may be preparing for cracks in the blue wall. Nathan, your thoughts on all of that and why Democrats might be underperforming, and can the Harris campaign still turn things around?
Yeah, well, I think we have to remember on early voting a couple of key things. We know in most states what ballots are being returned. Is it Republican returning a ballot, Democrat, or an independent, non-affiliated voter? But we don't know what is on those ballots. We don't know what those votes actually say. So that gives me pause. And also, we have to remember, if Democratic mail-in balloting is down compared to 2020, let's remember where we were in 2020. We were in a pre-vaccine COVID scenario in which Democrats in particular, more so than Republicans, were not excited to go stand in line next to a lot of people or go inside with a lot of people and vote. So there was tremendous mail-in balloting on the Democratic side. But now 4 years later, I think the Democrats are more comfortable going to Election Day. So just a dip in early voting doesn't automatically assume that Democrats all is lost. I think that it's going to be I don't think we're going to know before Election Day who the winner is. I still believe that this is going to be close.
Yeah, we're all keeping close tabs on Pennsylvania. Cook Political Report has moved the Pennsylvania Senate seat from lean Democrat to toss-up. Nathan, how significant is that? And do you think Republican Dave McCormick can flip this seat from longtime Democrat incumbent Bob Casey?
He definitely can flip it. I think Casey still has a slight advantage. The good news for Republicans is that they don't have, if they're winning Pennsylvania, then Montana, they're already going to win West Virginia. Montana is probably done. Ohio, Sherrod Brown has probably lost already. So this would just be icing on the cake. I love my friends at the Cook Report. This is where I enjoy having that extra rating category between toss-up and lean. We call it tilt. That's where we have the Pennsylvania race right now, because I think there's more evidence right now that shows that Casey is still up by a little bit, but McCormick can certainly win this race.
You know, there's this theory that whoever wins more days in media coverage between Labor Day and Election Day wins the race. With that in mind, with a few seconds we have left, Nathan, who do you see winning right now?
John, this is the best and most difficult question. I think it's close. Harris, I know that there are vibes and there's sort of a sense of momentum for Trump, but it is very minimal. And still, Democratic fundraising has been better. Democratic organization is better. And those are some tangible things that could make the difference in a close race.
All right, Nathan Gonzalez of Inside Elections. Thank you, Nathan. We should mention to our viewers that you'll be joining us election night as well. Nathan, thank you. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We'll see you soon.
All right, in other news tonight, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in Israel.
That's right. His goal to kickstart ceasefire talks that have been stalled for months. Blinken met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for more than 2 hours in Jerusalem, urging him to capitalize on the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
I believe very much that the death of Sinwar does create an important opportunity to bring the hostages home, to bring the war to an end, and to ensure Israel's security.
Also on the agenda, cooling tensions between Israel and Hezbollah. Israel confirmed Tuesday that a Hezbollah drone attack over the weekend targeted the home of Benjamin Netanyahu. Meanwhile, the FBI is investigating a possible leak of a highly classified document regarding Israel's plans to strike Iran. It's unclear if the information was leaked or the result of a hack.
Here in the U.S., police arrested 11 pro-Palestinian demonstrators Monday at the University of Minnesota. They are accused of taking over an administration building and locking staff inside. In a statement, the university says the protesters entered the building and, quote, began spray painting, including covering all security cameras, breaking interior windows, and barricading the building's entrance and exit points. The incident is still under investigation and comes months after anti-Israel protests swept college campuses across the nation last spring.
Up next, China turns up the heat on Taiwan, why experts fear it could lead to a standoff with the United States when Faith Nation returns.
Welcome back. China held live fire military drills near Taiwan today, the latest in a series of war games that have escalated tensions in the region. The drills came a week after the Chinese military conducted exercises simulating a blockade of Taiwan. Sunday, American and Canadian naval ships sailed through the Taiwanese Strait in a show of support of the self-ruled island territory. Beijing claims Taiwan is part of China and opposes calls for independence.
Well, Gordon Chang, China analyst, political commentator, and author of the new book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, joins us now. Gordon, welcome to you. So you just heard Jenna's reporting there. How do you read China's live fire drills near Taiwan, and what's the appropriate response, both regionally and globally?
Beijing is trying to intimidate not only Taiwan, but the United States and other countries in the region to basically submitting. Right now, I don't think that Xi Jinping is prepared to launch an invasion of the main island of Taiwan. So he's hoping that a quarantine or maybe a blockade will achieve his goals. Because remember, he has staked his legitimacy on annexing Taiwan. But if he starts a quarantine, he's probably beginning a chain of events that will lead to war. So the appropriate response of the United States is very clear, to say that the United States will defend Taiwan and that we should be bringing our military assets close to the island to show our credibility. If we do that, the Chinese will back off because they don't want a war at this point. But if they think that they can actually get some advantage and that we're afraid of them, then this is going to be really ugly.
Yeah. From a policy perspective, Gordon, who do you believe China would prefer to work with as the next Oval Office occupant, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, and why?
I think it probably would be Harris for two reasons. First of all, every new American president gives China a grace period. And right now, time is critical. And so China realizes it can get a lot of advantage by having the U.S. delay. Also, Tim Walz is very pro-China. And I think that they probably believe that he would influence her because she's not that interested in foreign affairs, as we know from various reporting. The thing about President Trump that the Chinese really don't like is that he's unpredictable. You know, they can get along with hostile American presidents, but they can't get along with ones they can't control. And I think they believe that they cannot control Trump.
Gordon, we want to get to your new book. So, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. You write how China is using every form of engagement with the United States as an opportunity to not only upend international order, but to kill Americans. It's a bold claim that some might find surprising. Can you talk to us a bit about that?
Well, fentanyl. 70 to 75,000 Americans each year die from doses of illegal Chinese fentanyl. And we know that this is a project run at the top of the Communist Party because some of the fentanyl producers are state-owned. Chinese diplomats give cover to the fentanyl gangs. Every container that leaves China is inspected by officials, and the fentanyl gangs launder their proceeds through the Chinese state banking system. Then you have Chinese-owned TikTok, which Beijing uses to propagate its narratives, and it promotes illegal drug use in the United States. You put that all together, it means that Xi Jinping, who has promised 3 times to Presidents Biden, Trump, and Obama to stop this, he's continued it. We know that he approves of the killing of Americans.
All right, Gordon Chang, we thank you for coming on. Once again, the book is Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon, thank you.
Thank you, Jenna and John.
And coming up, when floods ravaged North Carolina and Brazil, Operation Blessing sprang into action. See how OB is restoring communities right after this.
Welcome back to Faith Nation. New data from North Carolina shows Blinken County, home to Asheville, overcounted deaths caused by Helene by as many as 30 people. Meanwhile, nearly 30 are still reported missing after the flooding. Aid delivery has been hampered due to restricted access to hundreds of roads and dozens of bridges. International teams from CBN's Operation Blessing are still scouring out-of-the-way places to help people in need. Local resident Dina Fortune flagged one team as they were driving down the road and asked if they were delivering supplies. She's a widow who lives alone in the mountains 13 miles from the nearest town. Dina was thrilled to learn the team had many of the items she needed. They followed her home, bringing a food box, hygiene kit, solar lamp, and a water filter.
It means a lot to me that you are a blessing. You brought me some food, which I was needing. That was what I was going after, and water that I don't have to carry. That helps me out tremendously. You have no idea. That really helps me out, because that was getting to me carrying that water from the creek up here for my bathrooms and stuff. And that ends up being a blessing to me.
A grateful Dina told the Operation Blessing team that they were sent by God and made her day.
Well, Operation Blessing is also on the ground in southern Brazil. Earlier this year, floods struck the region and buried hundreds of towns. OB teams arrived within days to help communities begin rebuilding. 5 months later, the work continues as some in the community celebrate what they call a miracle from God. George Thomas reports.
Paulo and Daisonaro Bardo still become emotional while reflecting on those difficult days of mid-April when flooding devastated their community here in southern Brazil.
From the very moment it happened, every minute, every second, God told us to just trust Him.
As Paulo navigated the flood waters by boat, he recorded the destruction of their barber shop and surrounding homes, along with the hopeless feeling he felt.
When we first opened the doors, everything was destroyed. We didn't expect to find anything salvageable. The water reached the ceiling, causing immense destruction. We had no hope of rebuilding.
Their 4-year-old business lay buried under thick layers of mud, with all their belongings ruined.
From the very beginning, God was telling us to trust and have faith. I didn't know what I was supposed to trust in the middle of such destruction, until the Lord brought people from all over the world to make it happen.
Operation Blessing deployed aid workers within days, learned of the Bardos' plight, and quickly stepped in to help.
We could never have rebuilt the way Operation Blessing did. We might have tried to reuse some equipment, but there wasn't much to save. Without their help, we wouldn't have succeeded.
OB bought them new furniture and tools, enabling them to resurrect their business, which now supports 3 additional stylist families. Their shop now proudly displays a sign proclaiming, "This place is a fruit of a miracle from God."
I tell my clients that what God did in the barber shop through Operation Blessing was a miracle. We experienced this miracle in our business and families because where there was once despair, God brought hope through OB.
From the middle of April all the way through May, this region of southern Brazil got more than 15 inches of rain. In essence, affecting more than 90% of the entire state. Operation Blessing decided to come to the small community of Santos Dumont. And one of the first things they did to help the community was to rebuild the church.
You know, the pastor was super hopeless. They were not even expecting to come back.
When I saw the destruction of the church and the surrounding community, I never thought there would be a way to rebuild.
That's when Operation Blessing approached him with a plan to rebuild.
The Lord brought people from OB, from the other side of the world, to unite with us in an alliance to help rebuild. If we had relied solely on human strength, it would not have been possible.
While some volunteers worked on the church, others focused on Sue Ellen de Silva's community center, known as Sonos e Sabores, or Dreams and Flavors. For years, this center served as a refuge for hundreds of underprivileged individuals, providing hot meals, clothing, and showers. Unfortunately, it also sustained significant damage.
I'll be honest, life in this community is very difficult. Many people are homeless and live in precarious conditions. Most are living by collecting trash and recycling. There's a lack of everything: water, sanitation, food. The community center was their only lifeline.
Through 4 months of work, Operation Blessing helped install new showers, toilets, a kitchen, a dining area, and a classroom with desks for children.
I'm filled with gratitude for OB. Nothing this significant has ever happened to me, and you can imagine how many people benefit from this center each day. They come here for lunch, dinner, and showers. OB will be forever loved by this community.
The catastrophic flooding also made existing water quality issues worse in Rio Grande do Sul, contaminating local water resources with debris, pollutants, and sewage, making safe drinking water even more scarce.
It's been very challenging because the post-disaster, Post-cleanup is always more complicated.
In some rural and underserved areas, Operation Blessing partnered with Bethel Church to provide residents with clean water, food supplies, and hygiene kits. CBN News covered a recent outreach as the two groups assisted numerous families and set up a mobile laundry service.
Today we're serving 170 families in the Fatima neighborhood, one of the areas most affected by the flood. We're distributing food boxes, hygiene kits, cleaning supplies, blankets, and our mobile laundromat is washing clothes for the residents.
Operation Blessing also worked with Pastor Matias Tasso soon after the disaster to help tens of thousands affected by the flooding.
We always pray to be witnesses of God, and when the flooding happened in a way that we never imagined, it gave us the huge opportunity to share God's love.
Pastor Tasso says he saw a record number of people coming to church for the first time. Among them, Gabriel Rodriguez, a community leader and gang member who was touched by Operation Blessing volunteers and church members who frequently worked in his neighborhood.
I'll keep going to church because it brings me peace. It brings me tranquility during this period of chaos we're living in. It's overwhelming, but there in the church I can find myself.
5 months later, as the state of Rio Grande do Sul rebuilds, Travessor sees resilience and spirit here, showing that even amid challenges, compassion and community can lead to recovery and renewal.
Most of the businesses that we reopen, they want to reinvest their profit even. They want to charge less of what they used to charge. Why? Because they want to bless the community.
George Thomas, CBN News, reporting from Rio Grande do Sul, southern Brazil.
Still ahead, costumed canines parade through New York City. That's next on Faith Nation. Finally tonight, a Halloween parade in New York is all about treats and no tricks.
That's right. An annual Halloween dog parade returned to New York City over the weekend, drawing in a wide assortment of characters in all shapes and sizes, as you can see there, to Manhattan's Tompkins Square in the East Village. Hundreds of dogs paraded down the street, some dressed in Yankees jerseys and hot dog suits, paying homage to the Big Apple. Others sported princess dresses or went under the guise of another creature in the animal kingdom. Several owners joined wearing matching costumes. This year marks the 34th anniversary, and I gotta say, some of those costumes are pretty darn creative.
They're really cute. I like the one in the plane. The owner was pushing him on a cart. Very cute.
I can't imagine dressing like my pet, but you know, to each his or her own.
To each their own.
That's right.
All right, we're gonna leave it there for this evening.
Have a great night.
We're actually, so